Hello, my friends. Welcome to Living the Liminal today. I am so glad you're here. If you have been listening to our podcast, welcome back. It's so exciting for us to just be together again. And if you're new, welcome. I know that you will walk away with some fun, freedom, peace, joy, something you can take with you into your everyday life and really just, extend it out. We're here to be expansive and expressive. And so I know today will be that kind of experience for you. So we have a guest today, and I'm just giddy about having this conversation with her. One, because she's a writer and I'm a writer. So I'm going to dive right into that conversation. But she just seems to be fun. And that's part of living the liminal, is to have fun, right? So today we have Mary Kay Savarese. She is an award-winning fiction author and speaker, and she writes books with quirky titles. I love that she even puts that humor in to her everyday experiences. She was born in New York, in Brooklyn, and you know how I love New York anyway. She used to be in the finance world. Now she's writing. She currently lives in Florida. She's a traditionally published author. So we're going to dive right into talking to her today about writing and where she gets the titles and her books and all that inspirational stuff that has to kind of come through you in order for you to produce something that's so worthwhile for everyone else. So Mary Kay, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
I am so happy to be with you and your wonderful liminal audience today, Christy. This is truly a joy and fun.
Yeah, no, I totally feel that energy from you too. So, okay, you are in this math world. Let's just put it that way, because math, and then you go to words.
Yes.
So how did that work literally come into your experience and your awareness?
Of just writing, or how did the whole
how did you go from finance to, oh, I want to be an author? I mean, come on, those are two different types of the brain, right? I mean,
oh yes, absolutely. So I have always had quirky ideas, fantasy ideas about writing, and raising a family, working, volunteering, having the hubby, and everything went on that back burner. Yeah. I put everything first, as you know. And
we do that a lot. We do that a lot when we want those big things like families, mothering. We put that all, we put what we really desire on the back.
Right. So finally, when that first, I have 3 children. They have since left the roost, but when that first child went off to college, I said, let me see, I have an idea, and let me see if I can actually write a manuscript, because you know what's involved.
Yeah.
And we are talking, a reader, you're looking at pages, right? 300, 400, 500. But as authors and writers and our publishers and editors, they want to know word count.
Oh.
So, right? So the first thing is you look at who wants what in the publishing world, and they say, well, we want 80,000 words. And you're like, 80,000 words? And you start figuring it out. So over 10 years ago, Christy, I am an overnight success, a 10-year overnight success.
Thank you for saying that, because I think on the outer world, right? So those of us living out here, when we look at writers, authors, or we look at anybody that seems successful, we think, oh my gosh, they talk about how it just happened, right? It just can't. Okay, yeah, that's the overnight part of it. But leading up to the overnight, there is a heck of a lot of stressed out nights, sweating nights, waking up early, not sleeping at all kinds of moments that go into that overnight someone figures you out.
Right. As I said, I had to prove to myself I can actually write a manuscript. So the first time over 10 years ago, and back then everything was snail mail, I wrote everything out. And then I spent the next year, I didn't realize how many words that was. I mean, I'm writing in a book. And
Right.
then I went on my laptop and I actually found the freedom on a laptop. The ideas just flowed. Boy, it kept track of everything for you. It was easy. And from that point, I started to, I wrote the first manuscript, and then I spent 2 years. As I said, it was snail mail, but back then, publishers were still open to many authors and literary agents. So I spent 2 years copying and sending out, which was actually very costly and quite a bit of work. So I did get back beautiful rejection letters that I keep to this day. Thanks, you can write, but it's not what we're looking for.
Right.
So you learn, as you know, Christy, we have to build a thick skin. And because at that point in my life, as the kids were starting to leave, I started to deal with a lot of anxiety of like, oh my gosh, my life is changing. And my family unit is dead. And what I mean by that are the babies I raised, the toddlers I nurtured, the teenagers that I would stay up late into the wee hours, right?
Yeah.
That whole thing was dead. It's not that they were dead. It was just my brain had to come to the realization. And thank God I had my passion of writing. It got me through some difficult times, and it gave me such joy that as the rejections came in, I went, okay, I have an idea, another idea. Let me work on that. And that's exactly what I did, and that got me through. But it wasn't until I had a big birthday, Christy, coming up, and I said, come on, God, how old am I going to be before this actually happens? And he said, ye of little faith. And it's like, oh my God, after so many years, my contract came in right before this big birthday. So,
wow.
So he really does have a sense of humor. And it's all, small steps, stepping stones. It's all a learning process, as you know. So just because you have a contract doesn't mean the job is done. The hard part is now starting. You think just getting a book contract. I'm traditionally published. This was my 4th manuscript. Tigers Love Bubble Baths and Obsession Perfume. Who knew? It's a mystery romance with a spiritual twist. You think, wow, okay, you take a breather, you celebrate, and then reality hits.
And then you have to get to work and produce what your idea is.
Then they wanted the manuscript. I mean, I had my manuscript, but then I was given a creative editor, and talk about humbling. That is very tough because they're just shredding what your audience may not know. By the time they are actually reading a novel, how many changes have gone into that manuscript and revisions and everything else.
Yes. So I didn't traditionally publish, I self-published, but even there, I mean, even on my laptop to this day, I have book 1, book 2, book 3, book 4, because it was every time you made a change, you had to resave it and then make sure. And then we had to keep reading it, make sure that was the one, and it didn't get crossed over into an older version. And so, there's a lot of that time, sweat, tears, like you said, the humbling of someone telling you this is good and how to receive that. Like, wow, I really wrote something that someone may want to read. Right. Or the humbling part of, okay, we don't really need this part, but you just poured your heart and soul into putting these words in formation that resonated and spoke from your heart and your mind. And then someone says, we don't need that part. Not important here. And you sort of have to like be willing. I think it goes back to being willing to let some things go in order to keep the bigger vision of the dream alive.
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head. And these editors truly love, if you're fortunate to work with an editor, love your editor, they can bring it to the next level. But during that whole time that you are working with them, as you said, it's tough. They're cutting, they're criticizing. And there were times I said to myself, why am I doing this? Why do I need to be criticized so much? And then the times they would give me like a little perk. Oh, I think this is great. What a great idea. Oh my gosh, I'm loving it. Then I would go, phew, finally. But let me tell you, at the end, it was all worth it because this editor truly brought my book to the next level. She was just amazing.
And I believe anytime you're bringing a dream, out into the external world, you have to really wholeheartedly believe in that dream more than anybody else and keep that dream alive in a way, because it can have moments where you feel like the dream is going by the wayside as you're doing the work.
Exactly. And if you don't believe in yourself, who else is going to believe in you? You know, at that point, you have such faith in your work. And if you're chasing rainbows continuously, you're chasing whatever that latest book, the latest bestseller was. By the time you get there, that will have passed you. So truly, if you have a dream, it's your own idea, that's what you need to work on and to make it fruitful and start presenting that, because you can be the next J.K. Rowling, honestly.
Yeah. So I'm going to go back to something you said earlier, because I feel like as we talk about where you got your ideas and all of this, the fun, quirky part of it, I want to go back to that moment you said when your kids were starting to leave the home and you had identified with this role that you played as mother and wife and family member. So you held your family together and you were this mother and this wife, and you felt like, oh my gosh, this identity is going away. And you even used the words, it was dying. Like it was, my family is becoming dead, which is very unique that you said that, because I don't think we talk about that enough. I don't think we talk about the fact that when our kids, I just moved my oldest son to Austin, Texas, to live, like not to go to school, to live. And then I have another one in college and two that are still at home in high school. But I understand what you're saying there, where you are going through that transformation of letting go of an identity that has been there for 20 something years. That's all you've ever known. And then all of a sudden you have to re-identify. And then, what I think is so beautiful about your story is your dream comes up as an inspiration then, the dream of being a writer. And I feel like if you didn't mourn and grieve what you consider to be the loss of the family as I know it, I don't know that your dream can really come through sometimes.
No, we don't realize things that are tough in our lives can truly be blessings. Because it's a journey. And as you move through that journey, I learned how to cope with it, how to deal with it, I did have to do some medication, but then I learned how I could live without the medication and deal with my life. And at the same time, I had this passion of writing. Although I was dealing with rejection after rejection, what kept me going was, I've got this idea, and it would bring me such joy. But when I think back to that point in my life, it was a wonderful learning experience to go through. And when you had said that, we as women deal with that. We keep quiet about it, and many women do, because you're ashamed. You have to take care of yourself, your family, your kids, your job, and everything. And if you slip and fall and, you're having a little bit of a hard time, you think, why? The other person's doing it. Well, we're all containing it within. So,
yeah, I don't think we honor the part of our role as mother and wife and family leader per se. I don't think we honor the grief that goes on when our kids get old enough to go build their own lives, and what that really, really does to our own self. And I think if we honored it more and talked about it and got out of the shame and the guilt of it, there's nothing wrong with the fact of having some grief and some sadness when the dynamics are changing. I mean, because I think if we do that, then we open the space for dreams to come through.
Exactly. And getting help. Do not be ashamed to get help.
Yeah. Yeah. So here you are, and you're realizing that, okay, my dynamic is changing. This entire identity of this family, taking care of little kids and running around, and Lord knows you don't get any sleep when they're teenagers. No. That's a whole other topic we could go to. So now you've made space, right? You've emotionally made space for this dream that you want as a writer. So where did the ideas? I mean, seriously, tigers who love bubble baths, that's hilarious.
And it is so true. Audiences love to hear about it. Several years ago, I visited a reserve in St. Augustine, Florida, and it is very much a reserve for big cats. But big cats, it's a nursing home for old big cats that have been tossed aside from circuses, TV shows, even as pets, movies.
Wow. Okay.
And the end of the tour, I walked up to a vat 16 feet wide by 5 feet high, overflowing with bubbles. And there was a wildlife handler standing on a stool, holding Obsession Perfume. Now, I am just behind this thin little gate, kind of, and I watch this tiger, a 600-pound Siberian tiger, walk across the plank, look as though he's taking off a robe, and he slips into the bubble bath. And Christy, my mouth opened up in such awe, because this is a jungle creature that was acting so human. He loved these bubbles. And then he's like, okay, I'm ready for my cocktail. And she sprayed his tongue with Obsession Perfume, and he lapped it up. And I said to myself, tigers love bubble baths and Obsession Perfume. Who knew? That is the title of my next novel. And I wrote a mystery romance with a spiritual or supernatural twist around that title. And I'm very humbled to tell you that it has received 8 awards.
Wow. Wow. Doesn't that kind of amaze you? Like, okay, I don't believe in coincidences. So I believe that they're just synchronicities, okay, divine orchestrated moments. So when you were sitting there and you had that idea, this is going to be the title, did you feel, and as you were even writing the story, did you feel like that really was a divinely orchestrated moment for you to witness that experience? Like at any point, did you feel like that?
I can't say I did. I always prayed, and I would say, hey, God, can this be my day today? So,
I love that.
But you're struggling, you're working, you're writing, in the sense that I'm sending it out to publishers, and I'm getting back rejections, and it only takes one, and that's truly. But actually, I had 3 publishers who were interested in it at the time, and that's when I said, wow, okay, something's happening. Yeah. And but they weren't all at the same time. But that was a nice sign to me that and then I had to fight for the title with the publisher, because my publisher said to me, Mary, please tell me there is a tiger in a bubble bath with Obsession Perfume in your story. And I said, absolutely, it is my climax.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. When
Christy,
you say,
I have to tell you, the readers, just the feedback that I would get on the title and the cover, and if the audience can see it behind me, it is the one with the tiger sitting in a bubble bath with the awards on it, and people just love the title. So that is inspiring to me. I think that's what I find most inspiring, when you have readers that come back and say, Mary, oh my gosh, I loved it. I love the cover. I love the title. What a great story. That's what I find so inspirational. That tells me, keep going. You love it, keep going.
Well, and I think that you had this dream, right? This dream that kind of started to evolve itself once you made space for it, right? Once you acknowledge that the role you played as the mother from early on to then was being allowed to being set by the side for a little bit because you had gotten your kids to a good point and they're going to go off and live their life.
Yeah.
And now your essence can really come through, and you sort of just handed it over and you allowed these experiences to come into your awareness, and you took hold of them when the matchup happened, meaning your awareness and the outer experience. So you said you included like supernatural, spiritual little twist on that. Were you always a believer of the supernatural or spiritual essence, or did you just kind of get that idea along the way?
Well, I was raised in a Catholic family, and part of my protagonist, Angie Pantera, she comes in and out of her spiritual thoughts and everything. And that it's not that the character, the protagonist is me, but as we know, we use our life experiences. Right. And also during that time, for over 10 years, I have been a Eucharistic minister where I bring communion to nursing homes and I assist the clergy to distribute communion during Mass. So I was always attracted to that spiritual essence in a sense. And because I do believe in a higher power and that there aren't such things as coincidences. Things happen for a reason. So I use that in my writing. And I did very much so in Tigers Love Bubble Baths and Obsession Perfume. Who knew?
I love that. Do you have like we always talk about like how daily practices, right, to honor our truth and to honor our soul purpose are so important. Do you have a daily writing practice to just kind of like work on your creativity? Or do you just only focus on it when you have a book in mind?
No. I write every day. So I like to try to get it done in the morning, get a couple of pages, several thousand words. It's not always easy. Some days can just be editing what I've written. And I love to begin. I have an inspiration for a quirky title, something that inspires me. I begin with that quirky title. And then I'm thinking of a general idea. And then I really develop the characters. They become a part of me. I become a part of them. What motivates them? What moves them? How are they going to go this way or that way? And then I start writing. You know, you write one paragraph, it turns into a page. A page turns into 2 pages. And if you think about it, if you just write a page a day in a year, you have a novel.
Yeah, I love that. When you're coming up with your ideas, you kind of said you used your own life as inspiration. Mm-hmm. So you really have to get into an open creative space to allow these other ideas to just flow through you, right? It's sort of like, I guess, meditation in a way.
Oh, I love to write in fantasy. You know, to me, real life is too real. I love to think of ideas to really bring the reader. When you're reading, I want to bring you somewhere else because, you know, your life is so full of everyday issues. And to just sit and read about something that brings you someplace else, something that brings in some fantasy, and then romance, because we all love romance. And then
I'm a big Hallmark lover, so you don't have to talk about romance. I would definitely be on for that one.
Oh, and then throw in a couple of murders, and there you go.
Oh my gosh, it has a little bit of everything. Okay, quirky titles. That's just every time I see you say that word, quirky titles. Were you always a lover of the humor and the fun?
Well, I think why I love a quirky title so much is I want to grab you immediately. And I think if a reader looks at something kind of a little different and a little bit strange, like Tigers Love Bubble Baths and Obsession Perfume, who knew? They will want to delve further. They'll look at the back cover, take a read. And it just inspires me to have a quirky title. To me, they're fun.
Yeah, totally. Because it's going to draw you in. You're right. It totally which is the concept of inspiration anyway, is that which draws us in so that we can kind of bring us to this really freeing space of joy and fun and just overall happiness. So I absolutely love that. What was it like to be in the receiving end of award after award after award? Because not always are we good as mothers to receive.
No, but you know what? I put aside, I am very much a person, I like to keep Mary personal. But for some reason, when it comes to sharing the writing and the stories and everything else, I am such a blabbermouth. I love to share the process and how inspired that I had become. And I love to share that with the audience because they also have a dream. And it's so important to never give up on yourself. I mean, look at me. It took me over 10 years. Mm-hmm. And I always had faith. And I thought, okay, tomorrow will be the day. Tomorrow. Just don't ever give up on yourself because I can't promise you it'll happen overnight. But if you have that dream and you stick with it, I can promise you it'll happen to you.
So when you really believe in the faith part, and I want to address that because that's another area that I feel like a lot of us struggle with, right? Keeping the faith through long-term sustainability, whether it be a dream or just your life in general. So what do you remember was your lowest of the lowest when getting faith was hard?
Getting 5 rejections in one day.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Because I then said to myself, because we send out just not 5 or 6. I mean, I must have sent to 50 publishers. And in one day, I received 5 rejections. And at that point, I had gone beyond my first manuscript. I was already on my 3rd and my 4th manuscript. And I was getting rejection after rejection. And I was just saying to myself, okay, let's move on to the next manuscript and let's hope it'll be better. But I never gave up on submitting because truly it just takes one person to have faith in you, one editor, one publisher, and that's all it takes. You don't need 100 people.
Yeah. And even what I love about your story is even when you're at the lowest, you just surrendered. You just surrendered and said, I'm not giving up. I don't care. I'm going to crawl, but I'm not giving up I'm just going to keep doing it. And something will come in. I think that's where we have to give more power to the dream and not what other people are saying about your dream. Like you have to believe in your dream wholeheartedly so that it doesn't matter what other people, eventually someone will believe in the dream too.
Yes, because what helped me, it's such a part of me. It's my passion for writing and coming up with new ideas and the fantasy. It's such a part of me, of my soul, of my psyche, that it gives me joy to sit and do that. So if nothing had ever happened, I would still be writing my stories and maybe just handing them out at church groups or something.
Yeah.
But I just love it when a new idea comes to me and I start writing it. And, again, that became my baby because the joy of going through that. And then when I'm finished writing a manuscript, it is a little bit sad because I'm done with that. Your baby is grown and left.
Yeah, it's like birthing a new idea.
Yes.
And then when you create it, because we are born to be creators. We are born with a creative essence. It doesn't matter who you are. You have a creative side, and to tap into that full expression and full expansion of your soul. I love that you said, my soul said, keep doing it. It didn't matter if it happened. So again, what I love about your story is you were attached to the dream of, can I be a writer? And your rejection letters were rejecting publishing it, but they were telling you it's a good story. So you proved over and over your ultimate desire was, can I write? And you proved you can write. Now you were just looking for the publishing contract.
right? And because my goal was to become traditionally published. Over 10 years ago, self-publishing was very, very tough. And we don't have what we have today, different opportunities with that. There's self-publishing, there's co-publishing.
Right.
With the technology, it's come such a long way. Back then, that's why I was striving to become traditionally published. But, and that goal, that inspiration just kept saying, stick with it and stick with it.
I love that. I love the commitment that you made. First to say, can I do the writing? And second was, okay, now I want a publishing contract because they're proving I can write. Now I want the next level, and to stay with that part of you that's just creative and inspirational. And I love that you use the quirky titles. It's hilarious. So tell us about your second book and where you got that fun idea.
Before I get to that, there's something personal I did want to share with you,
audience.
Yeah,
absolutely.
While I was going through this for 10 plus years, only my family, my husband and my children knew my passion, my desire, my goal to be traditionally published. So when I finally did sign the contract, I told the rest of the family and my friends, and they could not believe it. So, and I mean, I even had some friends that said to me, "You're writing books? I didn't even think you read books."
How did that feel? Like, let's really talk about that, because that's another thing that we as mothers, right? We identify with taking care of people outside of us. But what this was your process of is starting to really take care of and honor your own needs and your own desires and your own availability of your quirky and humor and your ability to write words and craft stories. So how did that feel to really get that contract? So your dream came true. How did that really feel?
At first, that feeling is just so incredible because you can't believe it. But then reality hits. You start editing. Once the book is published, it's mind-boggling. You're there. But then you have to market your book. Mm-hmm. And you had asked me, Christy, my second book, The Girl in the Toile Wallpaper. Again, when I was writing that manuscript, I was in search of a new publisher. Not that my other publisher, I mean, they were absolutely wonderful, but I was in search of somebody who was interested in a trilogy. And my old publisher was not interested in trilogies. So now I'm thinking, oh, this is easy. I'm a traditionally published author. Well, guess what, Christy? You're going through the same thing over and over again. They don't care. Publishers, no. Okay, great, you're published, but it's not what we're looking for, But it only took one publisher. And they loved the idea, and they signed me up immediately. And The Girl in the Toile Wallpaper. And toile is, I love it when people say, okay, now tell me, what is toile? Toile is, it tells a story. It's something very much part of our daily lives that was invented over 200 years ago. And it is a wall covering. It is a fabric. It is an accent piece that tells a story. And I'm going to try to put something up. If you can see the book behind me, you can see a little bit of the toile, but I'm going to try to, as I said, it tells a story. Now you see people dancing.
Okay, yeah.
And you see two vibrant colors. Like what I had just held up was a cream and a black, and such vibrant colors. It tells a story, but it could be anything. It could be historical. It could be children playing. It can be adults dancing. It is endless. And I fell in love with the vibrancy, the colors of looking at like wallpaper. I had it in several rooms in my home. And I walked by and I looked at my toile and I would say, Christy, I would say, okay, I see romance. I see betrayal. I see this. Wow. I see that. And I wrote a story about a girl that, and there are many romances within The Girl in the Toile Wallpaper, but and it is contemporary, and it takes you back a little bit in time to Florence, Italy, and Siena, Italy. So I take you on a journey there. 200 years ago, it was very common for young women to being loyal to their family. And what I mean by that is the parents said, oh, you're marrying into this family. And it was obviously for business reasons. And my heroine, my protagonist, was going along with that, hated every facet of it and who they were telling her she was going to marry. And what happened? Lo and behold, somebody comes into her life and everything changes. But then a noble decides, nope, this isn't happening. And through the fantasy part, she is placed into the 12. And will she be there forevermore? Or there's quite a bit to tell.
I feel like so much of your ideas come from this very expressive, expanded place within you that allows for the ideas to just flow in. So in my understanding, okay, this is a very, I'm going to use some words like, it's a very channeled, meditative place to just allow ideas to flow, right? So do you do anything daily to kind of allow that flow to come into you?
I find that if I get some walking in and it clears my head, that definitely helps with the ideas. And living in Florida now, that opportunity is there almost daily. And that gets the juices flowing. And as I'm walking, I'm thinking of ideas. Or if I have some time alone, I'm usually trying to think, okay, which way can it go? Can it go this way? Can it go that way?
Yeah. And just really being open to all the possibilities. I mean, who would have ever taken a piece of wallpaper and like come up with that kind of a story? And the idea of a trilogy on top of it means that there's more stories to come on. And what I love about it, your fiction is it also has a little bit of nonfiction to it that allows, I think, the reader to sort of come into this story and almost live it. I like how you even wanted that purpose early on to take them out of their everyday and give them a vacation, to give them something that's just fun and flirty and, to kind of have that part of life too.
Sure. You want to take them on an adventure. And one of the things we have to learn as writers, and we all fall into this trap, we do too much telling. And my creative editor was constantly scolding me in a good way. I mean, it became a joke because you need to show. And when, as authors, we learn how to show, then the reader is part of it. They take it in and they see it and it becomes a part of them. And that's the magic with books. We're taking on incredible journeys.
Well, and I think that storytelling is just the end all be all because it allows for the other person, whether it's just you and I sharing stories over coffee, whether it's you writing stories for someone, for your audience, whether it's me writing, a story or telling a story. Stories allow us to sort of escape, right? All the emotional entanglement we've gotten ourselves into in our own experiences. And it allows us that adventure to take on a different way and to work through our own emotional entanglement. And you've just done that so beautifully to allow someone to take on a romance, a mystery, to go through all those emotions that are involved. And now then I step back into my own life and I understand my own emotions in a deeper way.
Oh, I love the way you just said that. It is because stories, they bring us to places we sometimes we can't even imagine going to. And as we've all been dealing, and we still are dealing with COVID, isn't it wonderful to just curl up with a good movie, a good book, and just to just fall into it. And that's what wonderful storytelling brings you to.
Well, and especially right now, given that travel is so uniquely shut down or limited in some way, books and fiction stories allow us to take the travel on. So we can take those adventures, we can go travel, we can look around and see the world.
Yep.
And you then broaden your own understanding of the way life is, and you see things so differently. It gives you perspective.
Exactly. And to bring romance into it is fun because everybody loves a little romance. And in The Girl in the Tall Wallpaper, I bring in several romances. So you have a story within a story, and it leads you to Italy, to Florence, Italy, and to different places, which is also fun.
Now, do you do some research? Like, did you have to go research those places to bring that into the story? Or do you just use your creativity there too?
Oh, I love that question. Well, many years ago, again, with my children, they studied abroad. So it was just so wonderful. I did visit them in Italy, in Florence and Siena. So I just said to myself, hey, that's going to be part of the story someday. And as authors, right, you know, we collect snippets here, a little snippet there. I collect titles because I love quirky titles. So that's where I start. I will always start with the quirky title, and then I start developing the story in my head and try to take it to the next level.
So years ago, I heard that this person who created a business, she had an idea book. Do you have an idea book? Like, do you carry an idea book around with you, or some sort of post-it note thing that allows you to?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I just carry a little tiny notebook, and
For
as my
ideas that come down. Okay.
Right, I just write it by hand, and I collect titles. And then any idea, I'll just write it, because if I don't write it down, eventually I'll forget it. Then I can go back and say, okay, maybe I'll go this way next time. So
nice. Oh my gosh, this has been so wonderful. Yeah. I love the fact that you haven't stopped. You didn't give up, because that's a big part of staying with your dream or your vision or a feeling you're getting for whatever, that inspiration, is to not give up. Stay in it. It may take a while. It may take longer than expected. It may humble you in a variety of ways, but stay with, if that dream came into your heart and your soul, it's there for a reason. Stay with it. Don't ever give up. I think that's a big, big part of what we talked about today.
Oh, I love that. You just said that so beautifully, and I couldn't have said it better myself. If you have that dream, stick with it. Because it took me over 10 years to become, my goal was to be traditionally published. It took a long time, but I loved what I was doing so much. So if you have that love in your heart, and it doesn't have to be writing, it can be any other interest, stick with it. And I can tell you, it'll happen for you as well.
Oh my gosh. So how can our audience get your books? Where are they sold?
My books are listed on Amazon.com. I'm at Barnes and Noble. You can walk into any independent bookstore and just tell them the title and my name, and they can have that book for you within 24 hours. So, but it's all right there, right on the internet. And please, I'd love for them to visit my author website.
Okay. We'll have all that on the show notes so that they can access that. And so you're working on the trilogy, is that correct?
Well, this is exactly. So the next book in the Girl in the Tall Wallpaper, it takes you to a different place, very much part of the trilogy, because if you can see, it says it's written in the stars. And that's it's called the Star Writers Trilogy. And then the third book in the series will bring you back to like current living and little twists and turns there. But I'm also, I have wonderful news. I'm teaming up in Jupiter, Florida with a local cat shelter, and they are naming kittens after characters in The Girl in the Toile wallpaper.
How fun is that?
It's so much fun, and we're going to be doing giveaways, and that's just the fun part, right? To really enjoy things after the book is published.
Well, I think that's another great way to kind of close out our conversation, is for people to realize that a dream sort of enters in your awareness, in your heart and soul, and you can't get rid of it. It just doesn't go away. That dream is going to do bigger things than you even realized. Because like you just said, you're writing this story. The first time you saw that experience of that big old honky cat getting in that little tub with the bubbles, you didn't realize, you just knew you wanted to write. That idea floats in, you start to write it. You don't even realize the ripple effect of then what the universe is going to do to make better everything and everyone around you, because of you standing in that moment, in that one time, and getting the feeling, I'm going to write a story, and that's going to be the title.
Now, if you have a passion for something, I can tell you, don't give up on it. Don't dwell on it. Like if I just sat there and I dwelled on it, when is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? My writing gave me such passion that I kept going back and creating other stories. And that's what gives me tremendous joy to share with everybody.
Oh my gosh, Mary, this has been so good. I want to ask you our high five questions. I'm curious to see what your answers will be. So what inspires you?
What inspired me to write?
Just what inspires you in general?
I think just looking at different things in life inspires me. I had these ideas that I just wanted to bring to fruition, and the writing helped me to put that on paper. And it's just fun. And again, as I was becoming an empty nester, I am truly grateful for this passion that I had, because I did struggle, Christy, as we discussed earlier, with my children leaving the roost. Oh, now I'm absolutely thrilled. But life is very much a journey. And if you can find that passion in your heart, go for it, stick with it, because every day you'll get new joys in your life.
I could not agree more. How do you have fun? Besides coming up with quirky titles for your books, how do you have fun?
Oh, fun could be anything. Fun is being with family. Fun is walking just the beach with my husband, or just taking a stroll. Fun, everything should be fun. If you can wake up in the morning and just think positively, you will have fun in your day. And that's, I think at this point in my life, I just try to think, with everything that we're faced with daily, right? Try to think positively and bring the joy into something that you're doing.
Oh, that's beautiful. What is one thing you cannot live without?
One thing I cannot live without. I love cats.
Did you love cats before? Is that why you were at the cat center initially?
I grew up around cats, and then I became so allergic to them as I got older. And then when my kids were born, they had allergies. But I am just so fascinated by cats that I love them dearly. But now it's like, we've got some medicines that can help us along with that, right?
Totally, yeah.
Yeah.
What does freedom mean to you?
Freedom to me is just having a joy in my heart for anything that comes my way. Because, Christy, every day is a challenge for you, for me, for our audience, for everybody. And if you can just find some joy there, I think.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What are you grateful for?
I'm grateful for everything. I'm grateful for my kids, for my faith, for my husband, for my family. I'm really grateful for everything. I always try to stay very, very positive, because we could just fall into that rabbit hole so quickly. and
Oh,
health.
totally.
And the
Yeah.
other most important thing is please take care of your health, because that just brings everything into focus.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. You've said so many incredible things. Mary, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been enlightening, inspiring. I hope our audience felt the same. I was like getting all excited to get my laptop and start my next writing project. It's so amazing. And it doesn't mean you have to be a writer. Take what Mary said and use it in any way with any kind of a dream that sits in there. Don't give up. Stay with it. It will happen. You're meant to do big, joyful, fun, quirky kinds of things in life. Use your creative space within yourself to do that.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. That was just so beautifully said. And life is really a stepping stone. I mean, for me, every day, you know, I have the idea, then this, then that, and then you're published. And it's always stepping stones. It won't always be easy, but if you have joy in your heart doing it, it's wonderful.
I totally agree. And audience, thank you so much for listening to Living the Liminal today. This week, remember who you are and the power you have to be both student and teacher. And you know what? Take what you did from whatever you want to take from today's talk, take it, go out, teach others, talk about it, live inspired, live from that place within your heart and soul, and know that you know what? You are a beautiful soul within yourself. I love you. Peace out, my friends.